Alrighty, we're done with yet another regular season of Drag Race, and the showrunners were kind enough to give us a 4-week break, wow, so that we can anticipate how they're going to mess up All-Star 7 and rob Jinx or Raj of their wins, but also so that we can appreciate Drag Race España. A video about season 14, and I am barely talking about it. Yeah. It was kind of the fillerest of the filler seasons. I mean, it had like 8 filler episodes, but honestly, it was the best regular season since season 9. At least in my opinion, of course. We'll talk about that more in another video, but for now, let's just get right into the ranking of the queens. This is the point system in place, you already know that. In the section of the video titled Notes, you'll hear the reasons behind the placements given. But before we start, I just want to thank all of my patrons for supporting me still. It was actually their ruling for this video to be first released, and after this video, I will do the Who Should Have Won Season 14 video, and then the review, kinda sorta, as well as the other staple videos for my channel that I originated, but you will probably see on other channels that only copy certain creators' videos. Anyways, in the last place with a PP score of 0.5, we have June Jambalaya, the queen that I think had the best glow up between the first episode and the reunion. Sadly, I don't really have much to say about June, other than the fact that she is stunning and that if Jack Fad is right and they are planning a first eliminated queen season, I think that we will most probably see her there. Looking at her chart, well, there isn't much to see here. She was in the bottom 2 in her first episode, and then she was eliminated in her second episode. The yellow line on the graph represents the queen's placement in an episode, and the pink line represents her PP score after each episode. In the 13th place, with a PP score of 1.25, we have Orion Story, my king. I think that the people that watch me know that I didn't really care for Orion, and I found her to be quite boring and just not really ready for the show yet. However, and kind of speaking of glow-ups, I'm going to say something controversial yet brave. Her finale look was my favorite. That pink dragon lion thing that she had on reminded me of Holy Dragon. Oh god, I can't remember the right pronunciation, but you know, the mega form of Tailmon from Digimon. I like how in Orion's chart, once she was brought back, there was a hint of her having an upwards trajectory, and then, you know, that didn't happen. In the 12th place, with a PP score of 1.6 recurring, we have the robbed goddess of the season, Alyssa Hunter. You guys already know how much I love Alyssa. I don't think I need to gush over her anymore. Y'all know how much I think her elimination was unfair. I did a whole video on it. Many people have also talked about it. I don't really hope to see her on All Stars because I know that she'll equally be mistreated on there. But if there ever is a Drag Race España All Star season, you know, they could invite some Hispano-American queens. I'm just saying. Alyssa's chart, yeah, let's ignore it. In the 11th place, we have the comedy queen of the season, Maddy Morphosis, with a nice 1.8 PP score. Yes, I said it. Maddy was the comedy queen of the season. And she never needed to say that she was funny. She just simply was funny. Her reads in the reunion were honestly amazing, and any person that publicly hoped for her to go home just because she's straight should be jailed. Darby, Katya, Violet, just to name a few. Maddy on an all-star season would be fantastic too. It's a shame that we have to talk about these queens in that sort of a manner, you know, which of them we would want to see on all-stars, but that's kind of the problem with these contemporary seasons. They only care to showcase the top 4 or the top 5, you know, in this case, usually as simply great, and then 1 or 2 more queens in the season will get the same treatment based on which community the show wants to please this time around, and then the rest of the queens are just ignored. I'm saying this during Maddy's section because it applies to her and all of the queens before her in this ranking. Looking at Maddy's time in the competition, yeah, there is not much to note here. We are 4 queens in and we still have not had an above safe placement. But that will all change with Jasmine, who is in the 10th spot with a PP score of 2. Yes, due to a technicality, Jasmine has 1 high placement. But to be fair, even without the said technicality, I think she would have had that high placement in that episode. Anyways, what can we say about Jasmine's time on the show? So, she was an annoying villain in the beginning, then Kornbread left and Jasmine came out as trans, and then Jasmine suddenly became a hero. See, this is one of those times when I don't say something, but I know that you know what I'm trying to say, while I'm risking the fact that 12-year-olds will hear this and will think that I'm being something phobic or something ist. Also, can I just say something controversial yet brave yet again? Yeah, the comments about Jasmine in drag looking older are like not negative critiques. I mean, they are presented as negative critiques, but they're not that. The show, as an extension of the culture that we live in, presents this idea that being or looking old, or God forbid, aging in general, is a bad thing. Because we are taught to relate beauty with youthfulness, and as an extension, with good morals. Let Jasmine do whatever the fuck she wants in drag. If she wants to appear older, or if she's gravitating to that Alyssa Edwards style, just fine, do that. It may not be to my taste, it may not be to your taste, but it's inoffensive. It does not affect any of us negatively, and it's totally valid. This is a Jasmine Kennedie defense channel from now on. In the 9th place, we have maybe the most influential queen of this season, Kerri Colby, with a PP score of this. I hate these episodes where I have to divide the scores by 7. They're always a nightmare. So Kerri received tons of favoritism this season, we all know that, but what I like about Kerri is that she knew it too. Even when she was constantly safe, she was like, yeah, the culture gassed me up to think that I was going to win this season, and that is just not the reality. No, really, her only placements this season were safe or being in the bottom 2, with varying results, of course. Her maturity and self-awareness are so refreshing for this show. I still stand behind what I said about the Daytona win episode. Kerri in white is the most beautiful I think I've ever seen anyone on this show look. In the 8th place is like, bitch, the like, queen, one of, bitch, Jorgeous, PP score of 2 bitch, 0.45 recurring bitch. I'm not making fun of Jorgeous choosing drag over education, but yes I am. Anytime she talked it was painful. Listen, I'm the first person to defend people when it comes to this kind of stuff, but it feels like all of the episodes that Jorgeous was in could have been at least 5 minutes shorter if she was just there to dance and be pretty. And to tell Bosco to go home, that was really funny, that was great. Looking at the Jorgeous' chart, Jesus fucking Christ. Do you see that win in episode 5? Do you see how the chart just looks off because of it? Yeah. I mean, it's not Jorgeous' fault that this happened, so let's not blame her for it or God forbid send her hate for it. Just blame it on the producers. Also, Jorgeous was in 5 lip syncs for her life, so you know that she will be booked and busy after the season. In the 7th place, we have the filler queen of this season, Deja Skye, with a PP score of 2.81 recurring. You know, it's funny that her name is Deja Skye, a play on déjà vu, meaning already seen, because we did not see her on the season. Also, it's a good thing that Deja likes to wear colors like lilac, lavender, and even periwinkle. She will wear the purple Kelly roll so well. Listen, I couldn't really relate to Deja like at all this entire season, somewhat because she was so under-edited. She would say that she's a comedy queen, and then everybody would be funnier than her, and she would just like yell and make bad dad jokes, not even good ones, but just like bad ones, which somehow also helped her win Snatch Game. So, you know, it's been rough for the comedy queens. It's also a little telling on the show that the oldest person, who is not even that old, got the invisible edit. We get it, Drag Race, you want to stay young forever, it's not gonna happen. Deja's graph is pretty interesting. She had a rough first episode, but then after that she climbed and clawed her way to that win. And then after that had basically a free fall off the top. But hey, there's always gonna be another mountain. There's always gonna be an uphill battle, and sometimes you're going to have to lose. And yes, it took her 9 episodes to win, and it took all of the other contestants to do worse than her, giant question mark after that statement. But it ain't about how fast you get there. It ain't about what's waiting on the other side. It's the climb. In the 6th place, we have one of my favorite queens of this season, Daya, whose PP score is just a bit below that 3 mark. She stands at 2.916 recurring. Deja's journey may be nice, but Daya's is much more impressive. Her constant safe placements that she didn't deserve and general objectiveness with her opinions made her a villain? somehow. Okay, it's a shame that she was eliminated in episode 1. That really tanked her PP score. So much so that she had a PP score above 3 only in 2 episodes. However, good for her for showing us that getting eliminated does not mean anything. You just got eliminated in an episode. It doesn't mean that you're a bad queen. I was quite annoyed with the comments that people were saying about Daya. Constantly saying that she should be more glamorous, give them a glamorous side, give them more women. And I'm like, why don't you try to give us what Daya's giving? Can you just leave people that don't see drag as just young woman sex object viewed through the male gaze alone? Please, thank you. Also, as a closer for Daya, let's look at her chart yet again. She had 4 below safe placements, 4 safe placements, and 4 above safe placements. Her PP score was also almost 3 at the end. She really was there in the middle throughout the entirety of the season. In the 5th place is the, at this point, designated early out queen that gets injured or somehow taken out of the competition, which makes her PP score unfairly large. It's Kornbread. To be perfectly honest with you, I don't know her full name. She has like 16 of them, so just Kornbread. The last time that she was on the show, it was January. Like, give me a break. What I said about the bottom 4 of this list does not apply to Kornbread, because she got loads of screen time, you know. Of course, this all was due to her win in her first episode and the subsequent storyline with Jasmine, so Kornbread really kind of lucked out with this season. Plus, her look in the reunion was so funny. It really showed how smart she is. However, I am glad that she wasn't on the season, which sounds horrible given how she went out, because you know that if she had stayed, she would have got so much special treatment, which she did also get in episode 4, that it would probably turn me and many other viewers sour towards her. Given that she wasn't in many episodes, there isn't much to talk about when it comes to her graph. In the 4th place, we have Bosco with a 3.416 recurring PP score. So Bosco and 2 other queens in the top 5 have the same PP score, but Bosco not only has the most mini challenge wins, but she also was saved by the producers with that golden chocolate twist, and also at some other times. We'll talk about it in another video. Bosco's track record is all over the place, as you can see. She was never consistent, which isn't a bad thing, by the way, but as you can see, she had a streak of the same placement in only 2 episodes, which is actually good. You know, she was all over the place, which is why she felt so omnipresent in this season. Even when she was safe, we kind of heard from her. I thought that she was going to win this season simply because of how many passes the show gave her. So I was like, well, just give her the win too, like who the fuck cares? So I'm glad that she didn't win. I know she's quite polarizing, so I'm keeping my commentary on her the same. Oh no. The winner of the season is in the 3rd spot. I mean, this is nothing new for modern Drag Race, and being 3rd best is not a bad thing whatsoever, given that Willow arguably could have ended the season with no bottom 2 placements and instead only 2 low placements, but we'll talk about that in another video. I'm so glad that Willow won, because I mean, first of all, she was my favorite from episode 1, but also because of her no fucks given attitude, her style, her intelligence, her strategicness. They're all things that I love in a queen that competes on Drag Race. The last time we had a queen as strategic as Willow was with Evie Oddly. Willow's frequent above safe placements made us always have her in the back of our minds, but even when she wasn't an important factor of an episode, it was her relationship with the other queens that was often highlighted. It makes sense why Willow won. But, and I sadly have to say this again, we'll talk about that in another video. In the 2nd place, for the first time in these rankings ever, we have Angeria with the same PP score as Willow and Bosco, but with the least amount of mini challenge wins to enhance her score. I want to go immediately to Angeria's graph. First of all, a PP score of 6 in episode 1. Are we kidding? Secondly, a PP score of 5 or more in 3 episodes. Are we kidding? And those 3 episodes were all consecutive. Lastly, a PP score above 4 for 8 episodes. Could have been more had it not been for the nonsense of the Snatch Game judging. Are we kidding? Angeria not winning this season kinda makes sense once we look at her graph. You know, there are no high placements in the last third of the competition. Angeria had a fantastic start but couldn't keep it up in the competition. Okay, that's kind of a lie, again, because of the whole Snatch Game thing and the show deciding to underproduce her. But yeah, if you had told me a month ago that Angeria would not end up winning the season, I would have said, how did you come into my house? Get out! And in the 1st place, oh, this feels so right. it's Lady Camden. Just look at how nice her time on the show is. Peaks and valleys. A 3.75 pp score by the end. Chef's kiss. Minimal help from the mini challenge wins. Her score being reduced by the bullshit placements in the sewing challenge and the snatch game. She's truly a robbed legend whose score could have been much higher. Robbed legend. Willow may have won the season, but Lady Camden won the competition. She kind of had the opposite thing to Angeria. Camden was kind of ignored in the first third of the season, so much so that I thought that she was going to be an early out or a filler queen. I'm so glad that I was wrong. I do kind of wish that she had won, but a white queen that's only gay and just cis wouldn't give the show any brownie points, or, look how inclusive the show is publicity, and also she's a foreigner, so I expect RuPaul to assassinate her in a couple of days. The biggest winner of the season is, of course, Kornbread. Not only because she placed 7 spots above her original placement, but also because she has Willow tattooed on her. The biggest loser of the season, aka the queen that placed the most spots below her original placement, could be either Willow, which is sad, Jasmine, or Orion, as they all placed 2 spots below their original placement. But because I always go with the lowest placing queen for the biggest loser is Orion's story. She's gonna get my ass one of these days. Alright, the notes. I'm gonna die. A part of me wants to say just watch my power rankings for each episode, but nah, that would be lazy of me. For episodes 1 and 2, 3, 4, and 5, the division is pretty obvious, given that the judging follows the format of 3 high queens, 3 low queens, and the rest being safe. Obviously, in the first 2 episodes, it's a bit different, but the placements are obvious. The first episode we have to talk about is episode 7, the Daytona Wind episode. Yes, you see it well. Lady Camden and Daya got an extra point for being in the top 2. And yes, I also hear you yelling that I didn't do that for neither the first nor the 8th episode of Drag Race UK Season 3 when there was a top 2 as well. I didn't do it for episode 1 because that twist was so unnecessary that ended up proving to also be fatal to one of the season's front runners, so it's best to ignore it. And for episode 8, there was already enough of a division between Ella and Kitty from Crystal and Vanity. There was no need for an extra point. Here, it's necessary. Daya and Camden were obviously picked as placing higher than the rest of the high queens, so they both get an extra point. Angeria, Deja, and Kerri were safe, and all the rest of the queens were high. Episode 8, when the queens did the 60s girls group challenge, also presents a classic 3-3-3 division, so we won't spend much time on it. However, episode 9 with the Dracon panel challenge is very interesting because of one queen in particular, Daya. Daya was given no negative critiques, and she was also given one positive critique. Basically, she got no critiques. We were just talking about wrestlers. We were supposed to see her as one of the low queens, but that's not how the episode was actually edited. They showed her doing well, but told us that she sucked. Drag Race editing is trash, pass it on. I know, news. For the sake of keeping the balance there, I marked her as low. Episodes 10 and 11 count as one competitive episode. Now, I've seen people say that the queens who won in the first round should be saved, the queens who won in the second round should be low, and Bosco should be marked as the only bottom 2 queen alongside Jasmine, who went home. But I strongly disagree. For better or for worse, but definitely for worse, all 7 of them were told they were up for elimination and had to lip sync for their life, so they all got 1 point. In all honesty, if the judging had been normal, Bosco and Jasmine would have also been in the bottom 2, but would Camden and Angeria have been low? I highly doubt it. Episode 12, Moulin Rouge. Again, the placements are pretty irregular. Bosco gets saved by the golden thing, but she gets no points for this episode because, lost the lip sync, was eliminated, but brought back because favoritism. Well, I mean brought back, but saved. That doesn't turn you points just for the sake of points. Had it not been for the chocolate twist, in theory, Bosco would not have been saved. In the 13th episode, when the queens did that unfunny roast of the unfunny Ross Matthews, based on how the critiques were given out and how the deliberations were shown to us, Camden was high, Willow and Angie safe, while we had the show's first ever bottom 3. It seems like a natural progression after a bottom 6 and a bottom 7. And in the last competitive episode, I'm calling the cops, nobody went home again, but Daya was high and Bosco was low. We'll talk about it. The finale was not a competitive episode, as it was a mixture of Season 7 and Season 8 finale, with a classic finale format of 2 queens, kinda sorta but not actually really lip-syncing for the crown. And that's it. That's the video. Another season is done. Thank you, Lord. Congratulations to Willow, Camden, and Kornbread. I cannot wait to do all the other videos I have planned for this season, and I think you'll enjoy them too. Thank you all for watching.